I took it and I ran, and I wanted other people to have the same or similar experience, that their whole lives could change, because that diagnosis changed my life for the better. So I ran with it and decided that's what I'm going to do with my life.
ADHD reWired, episode number 24. This is the show designed to help those of us who have really good intentions and a slightly wandering attention. Whether you have ADHD and you want to learn more about it, or you are looking for ways to organize your time, your things, or the many details of life so you can get more done, this show is for you. My name is Eric Tivers. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, coach, and consultant. We know that starting can be the hardest part, so let's get started with another interview from the ADDA Conference with Terry Matlin. But before we do, I want to thank our sponsor. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial. Go to audibletrial.com/ADHD rewired. Check show notes for link. You are in store for a fantastic interview where I sit and talk with Terry Matlin. Terry Matlin runs their website, ADDA Consults, and she's known as the Queen of Distraction. She's actually coming out with a book called Queen of Distraction. She is such a nice, warm person that I sat and talked with. And I just want to thank her for spending the time with me. If you are a parent, especially if you're a mom, you're definitely going to want to listen to this conversation. She shares very openly about some of the struggles of being a parent with ADHD and things like the difficulties she's had with things like meal preparation. And she's also learned some accommodations for herself. And I think that you'll really get a lot of value from listening to and hearing what she does. She also shares with us how she prepares for packing and trips, and even with all the experience that she's had with managing her ADHD and helping others with her ADHD, sometimes it still gets the best of us. I know it's been a couple weeks since I've given you a tech tip of the week, so I want to give you a really, really fast one that I'm not going to spend a lot of time on. It's for iOS, and it's called Mind. M-Y-N-D. It's a calendar, goal-setting app, to-do list app, all kind of rolled into one with a really slick interface. One of the really cool things I saw on it, yesterday I was going to an event, I was going to my Toastmasters group, and I put it in for 30 minutes before I actually needed to be there, so it blocked off my online calendar. But I wanted to look at the address, because I always put the address in my calendar because I know I'll need it if I'm going somewhere. And when I opened this event, I noticed in the right-hand corner, it said in red, late. I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. I tap on that red button, and it opened up my text message application with a pre-filled message letting the event organizer know that I was going to be late. And I thought that was a really cool feature. So I've only been using this for a few days. I'm really liking it so far, and I think you should check it out. There's a free version, and that's what I'm using now. There are in-app upgrades. I think that's what it's called, in-app upgrades. So go check that out. It's Mind, M-Y-N-D. And at the end of the episode, I'm going to have more details about the ADHD reWired Coaching and Accountability Group, because it's launch time. And now, the interview. Your voice?
Wow. Fancy.
Yeah.
Fancy.
Very fancy.
Fancy.
All right, let's start. So I am sitting here with Terry Matlin. But I'm never sure how to pronounce your last name.
That is correct.
Matlin. Matlin.
Yes, like a doormat.
Sometimes when is it Matlin or Melton or Metalino?
You're close.
No, I never remember Metalino.
No.
Okay.
Close.
So, Terry, we met, I guess more officially last year at ADDA, but we've met before that kind of in passing. But I guess we had some time to get to know each other last year at the conference, and we've had some nice conversations over the past year online. So, Terry, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are and some of the things that you do?
Well, I am a psychotherapist. I'm a trained clinical social worker, which is where I got my start in the mental health area. And for a number of years, I worked with young adult folks who had pretty severe psychiatric illnesses. This was way back after I'd graduated from social work school and knew nothing at all about what ADHD was. So that's where I started, and then I took time off from my clinical practice to raise a family of 2 children.
Which is a full-time job.
Full-time job. And tragically, my younger daughter at that point became very ill. She had a reaction to a vaccine as a toddler, and we weren't sure she was going to make it. So, thank goodness that she obviously did make it. But she had a number of residual physical, psychiatric problems because of that illness, one of them being severe ADHD. So I began to find my way around it and learn what is ADHD. I knew nothing. Even in my training in graduate school, nothing was really said about attention deficit disorder. So I had to learn on my own, and read a lot of books, and wanted to find the best ways to help her severe hyperactivity, impulsivity, and all those other wonderful things. Somehow, to this day, I don't know how it happened. I picked up a book on adult ADHD. I do remember it was written by Dr. Lynn Weiss.
Okay.
And at that time, even that book was old. So we're talking over 20 years ago. And I began to read and noticed people in my family who will remain nameless, as they requested. And they fit the profile of what this person was writing about. And I kept reading thinking, now it all makes sense, what my upbringing was all about, my childhood and that. But as I kept reading, I began to see other things that stirred my curiosity. And I was reading a lot about me. And that's where it all began. As I was learning about how to help my daughter, I began to recognize my own quirkiness as being possible ADHD, got evaluated, and got the diagnosis of ADHD, and decided, okay, this is a fascinating thing to me anyhow, and decided to, when I was going to return back to work, I would focus on helping adults with ADHD because so little was known about it.
So when you got that diagnosis, when it was kind of confirmed, like a lot of us who discover they have ADHD, they read something on it and it's kind of clear as day. And then, some of us go and get that official, formal evaluation just to confirm what we think. What was that like for you? Kind of take us to that moment that you can recall, where you got that diagnosis and it was really just confirmed for you and it was sinking in for you. What was that like?
To be honest, Eric, I didn't believe it in the beginning because I thought, how could someone like me who has 2 college degrees, who, has a lot of things going for me without sounding weird about it. I mean, I'm a musician, I'm an artist, I do this, I do that. But other areas of my life were falling apart in a big way. But still, I didn't believe the diagnosis. Partly because we didn't know much about ADHD in adults back then. So what I ended up doing was going to at least 2 or 3 other clinicians to confirm the diagnosis because of my inability to accept and believe this. Every single one of them confirmed the diagnosis. At that point, and that took over a year, of really searching, what is this? At that point, unlike many people that I talked to, I was breathless in that it was confirming what really was wrong with me, that I wasn't just a wackadoodle or crazy or stupid. I finally got the information I needed that explained how my brain worked. So I didn't really go through too much of some of the stages that many people I work with do. I didn't go through a depression or sadness that I had lost so many years of ability of being able to do things I wanted to do. Because I was doing things I liked to do. I just didn't do them well. But I flew with it. I took it and I ran. It was a little different than many people that I've talked to. So I was happy. I was ecstatic.
So it's like you went from denial to, okay, I have it. Excellent. Here we go.
Yes, exactly. I took it and I ran, and I wanted other people to have the same or similar experience, that their whole lives could change, because that diagnosis changed my life for the better. So I ran with it and decided that's what I'm going to do with my life.
I know you listening can't see this, but hearing Terry say that is giving me goosebumps, because I have that same experience. It changed my life for the better when I got that diagnosis. Now, I did go up through a brief period of kind of that depression, really especially when I started taking medication for it, because I realized for the first time, like, oh, like this is what normal feels like. And I had that clarity that allowed me to focus, and I struggled through all of school. And, I always felt that I was kind of smart, but my grades never reflected that. So yeah, I had a couple of weeks where I was really kind of down and depressed, and why wasn't this discovered before? And I had help in school growing up. I had an IEP. Wasn't for the right reason though. So because I wasn't hyperactive, I was inattentive, which is how most women present. Yeah. So, did you or do you, and if you're comfortable sharing, take medication? I have some problems with the stimulants because it can trigger anxiety in me, but it does help when I take it. When I was writing my first book, I couldn't have done it without Ritalin. So I take it when I really, really need to, but I don't take it all the time. But it has been extremely beneficial when I do take it. But Terry, you said your first book, so you're an author, and we were talking a little bit about that earlier, and you said you're coming out with another book now? Yeah, I just finished writing my second book, which is called The Queen of Distraction, which is kind of what my husband has always referred me to as, either the Queen of Distraction or the Queen of ADD. And this book is different from the first one, which is survival tips for women with ADHD. The first book is a collection of tips from women from all around the world. This book is all mine, and it's really digging deeper into the lives of women with ADHD and the struggles and challenges that we have, but it also offers some strategies and tips on how to get through it. Can you think of one off the top of your head that you can kind of pull out that someone might get from the book? Wow, I have a lot of them, but I think one that I utilize myself, because I have, I mentioned, 2 kids who are now young adults, but as children, I almost fell apart because my youngest one with her disability was quite challenging, and she actually still is as a young adult. What I ended up doing, and I suggest this to all women with ADHD who have children, is to bring in a babysitter a few times a week if you can, even if you're home. We need that space away from the chaos of a child with, whether it's a disability, whether if it's a child with ADHD or just a highly active child who's, kids, they want your attention all the time, especially the little ones. So one of the, I call them accommodations that we have for kids in school. Well, as adults, we need accommodations too. Absolutely. So one of the ones I talk about in the book is bring in someone. It could be a neighborhood high schooler, someone to keep your kids occupied so you can take a bath in a quiet room, or read, or take a walk, or go out, or socialize, whatever it is. You need that time away from your daily chaos. I think that's a great piece of advice. I often tell my clients the airplane analogy. When the airplane's going down and the air comes down, give yourself the oxygen so you can help your child. And it's the same kind of mindset, that if you are in a kind of in a tizzy and are overwhelmed, you're not going to be any good for helping your kid. So taking care of yourself so you can help your child, that's a great. Exactly. And for women, we're taught from a very early age that we're supposed to be the caretakers and set the tone in the family and in relationships. So we take on a lot of, men do too, more and more, as things progress in our society, thank goodness. But it's still, the burden is on the woman. And if you have ADHD, how do you juggle all of those responsibilities when you're just oftentimes falling apart inside? That's great. And when does that come out? The book comes out October 1st. Excellent. Yeah. And any plans for audio recording that book? That's a good question. I think so. This is being published by New Harbinger Publications, and they do a lot of mental health, self-help kinds of books. I think they have that in the works, but I'm not sure. Okay. One of the other questions that I wanted to ask you was to maybe walk us through the moment or a moment in time that you had where you kept running into these brick walls, and maybe you kept getting back up, but you kept hitting brick walls, or worse yet, maybe you got hit by a brick and got knocked down. But we know that being successful with ADHD means you keep getting back up. I mean, it's really a simple math equation. Getting knocked down has to be one less than how many times you get back up. And that's where success comes. So can you take us to a moment where you either ran into that brick wall or got knocked down, and how you got back up?
I can give you many examples. But
well, just one, Terry. We only have so much time.
All right. Well, I'll give you one. I'll give you two examples. One, which has been chronic, and which led me to wonder what's wrong with me. What's wrong with me that I can't get dinner on the table every night like every other mom on the block and every family member I know. With small kids, especially, you have to be prepared. You have to get dinner on the table at 5 or 6 o'clock. I could not do it. I didn't know why. This is pre-diagnosis. Even post-diagnosis, I still struggled with, if you think about it, getting a meal on the table involves a lot of executive function ability. 1, planning. What am I going to make? 2, do you have all the things you need? 3, putting it together, timing things. Just multitasking. They say people with ADHD are really great at multitasking, but that's not always true, or it's not always true in certain situations. So for me in the kitchen, it was a blowout. So my as I call it, like I said, my accommodation, and where, I kept falling down and being criticized by people who have said to me, well, people have 5, 6 kids and they can get dinner on the table.
Good for them.
Yeah. So I just decided that, I also had 2 kids who were extremely picky eaters, and also one with the ADHD who couldn't sit at a table, who was standing up and running around. So the accommodation that I set up for myself that worked was we picked up carryout a lot of times, and we went out a lot. Or my sweet husband, on his way home from work, would stop sometimes, get this, at 3 different restaurants to accommodate everybody's pickiness.
Wow.
Because truly, my 2 kids would not eat anything in common except cereal and pizza. And even then, one kid would eat pizza without pepperoni only. So, it became a huge obstacle in the happiness of me as a mom and in our family. So we worked around. We budgeted. I mean, it's very expensive to carry out food almost every day or go out. So that has been an ongoing thing where I just kept falling apart, falling down, until I decided, okay, this is what we have to do.
So it sounds like you accepted. And I think it's important to really understand acceptance as doesn't mean you necessarily like it, but you're accepting it is what it is. Yeah. And you're going to say, instead of giving yourself and having all these shouldy thoughts, though I should be able to do this or that, say, you know what, this is our life and we're doing the best that we can. And the best for us is going to be, I got to feed my kids. Would it be nice to make the home cooked meal? Yeah, but it's not going to happen. So I got to feed my kids, and this is a strategy that's going to work for us, and kind of being okay with that, actually really embracing and accepting that works for you guys.
Now, for me, and I think for many of your listeners, I think that there comes times where we reflect back and think, still, why can't I do this?
Yeah.
And we start tearing ourselves down again. And that's when we need to begin, in my case, think of my positives, the things I do well. Okay, so I can't get dinner put together every night at 5 or 6, but I can do X, Y, or Z. And that's where we need to put our mental energy. Okay, I am not great at that. I have problems in this area, but I can do that. This is where things fall apart for a lot of men and women with ADHD, is we focus on what we don't do well instead of focusing on what we do well.
And I want to ask you too, because I think that a lot of people that listen to the show, might be thinking, well, Eric and Terry, they have master's degrees, they own their own businesses, they've clearly figured it out and have it all together. And I'll be the first one to tell my listeners I don't have it all together. I can't get myself home on time at night if my life depended on it. I mean, I put so much time and effort and energy into trying to get myself to get to bed on time, and I'm not successful with it. Transitioning is extraordinarily hard for me. So I have a lot of areas that I am doing very well in, and I've learned strategies to manage my ADHD, but I have some areas that I really wish that I was doing better in. So maybe you can share an area or two with us where you are not where you want to be, besides the cooking of the dinner.
Well, we're recording this at a conference, as I think your listeners know. And I shared with Eric before we started that I thought I had it together because I've done many conferences now. I've been speaking for years and years at these things. And I've set up ways to get myself prepared for travel and for these things. But this one just blew me out of the water. Mm-hmm. I thought, okay, I'll start preparing 2.5 weeks, 2 weeks ahead of time so that I don't get into that last-minute frenzy that many of us experience when we're ready to leave home and travel and whatever. And I was kind of feeling a little, coy and like, I got it made this time. Well, lo and behold, as I got things done, for some reason there seemed to be more and more things that I still needed to get done. And I ended up in a real bad place just a couple of days ago. So even though I had laid out outfits for 2 weeks ago, I laid out the outfits, and I still could not figure out, and that's the executive function again, how can I cull down all of these outfits so I don't have 3 suitcases on the airplane? I couldn't figure out, this blouse could work with that outfit, or these shoes, so I don't have to pack 6 pairs of shoes. So what I did, and this is from my own personal experience of, how do you fix things? How do you get help? And that's the big thing, is how do you ask for help without putting yourself down? One of my other daughter is very unlike me in that she's extremely together with being able to make decisions and pack, and she can visualize things, which I am not able to do. So I enlisted her help, and we laugh, we joke, we have a good time, we have fun with it, because she's a good sport, and she's known me her whole life. So she was kind enough to come and see what I had spread out. And she said, okay, Mom, well, this top will work with that, so you can take that out of the mix. And she helped me. Wow. She's a terrific gal, and that's what got me through. So being able to ask for help without putting yourself down, we made fun of it. And as a matter of fact, I said to her, you must be adopted. And the truth is, she is adopted. So, we had a really good laugh. She's very un-ADD in many ways.
Maybe after the conference, you can take some time and reflect on what you did to get yourself together, and then write a kind of a to-do list, and then put a timer on it for 1 year from now, so it gets sent to you again right before the conference.
That's a great idea. What I do is I have lists, and I keep files of every outfit I wear to any kind of, it doesn't have to be a conference. It can be a wedding or a funeral, because then, I can at least have a starting point of what kinds of outfits will work. I do that. For some reason, this one threw me for a loop, probably because I had a lot of other things going on, as everybody else probably listening to this. I had a kid I had to pack up and send off to summer camp, and some issues with family members and this and that. So, the more things you have going on, of course, the more difficult this is.
I don't know if you saw, I think it was Tuesday, I posted on Facebook. I've been writing this occasional series, just a real quick kind of snapshot where I started as "Thank you, ADHD," kind of like from the Jimmy Fallon, So I said, "Thank you, ADHD, for reminding me all the things that I need to do that would have been really helpful to think about last week."
Yeah, except I thought about them last week and I still got stuck. It's just, you can get to a point. I've been doing this for many, many years. I've been understanding of my own ADHD and learning strategies. But the truth is, we're all going to get stumped. It's at some point, sometimes it just falls apart. And that we need to really remind ourselves that that's going to happen. That's life for everybody. Things fall apart sometimes, but you get, like you said, you get yourself back up and you keep moving forward.
I share with my listeners the mantra of failing forward. We're gonna hit bumps in the road. Some of them are gonna hit us pretty hard, but as long as we can get back up and look back at that bump, so we can try to avoid it next time, then it's okay. That's how we learn. I think that the fear of failure is what holds people back.
Yeah, and don't you think that people with ADHD have a more acute sensitivity to that fear of failure because of the many years, for many of us, in childhood, in school, socially?
Without a doubt.
There's been so many failures that we bring that into childhood, into adulthood, and we're just more sensitive, and it takes us down quicker.
Yeah. I had a college, in grad school, a professor that was talking about some differential reinforcement using positive versus negative reinforcement in the classroom, and how the emotional toll that it takes. And what this professor said was, consider it a 17-to-1 ratio. For every positive reinforcement you provide that child with ADHD, So you, for the positive reinforcement, add 1 to his emotional bucket. For every negative kind of reinforcement where you are criticizing for something they shouldn't be doing, subtract 17.
Oh, my.
And I believe it, because even the little things when we get a compliment, how much does that fill our bucket? How much, and then even there's a tendency to go, really? You know, to almost downplay it. So
you talking to me?
Hey, I did that. Hey, you know, it's every time I intro the podcast now, or I'm now on episode 22 will be my next episode. When I started getting to 18, I'm like, wow, like I'm doing this, you know, and it's because I had on my whiteboard, and I've shared this with my listeners before, the word podcast for years, and you know, finally moved forward with it. So it's I have no idea where I was going with this, Terry.
Where it's going, you got my attention, so it's good.
My listeners know that sometimes I just go on and then I, you know, try to get back my train of thought. Yeah. I was talking with Ari Tuckman a few weeks ago on the show, and he was great because he helped me get back to what I was talking about, but it took a while.
I don't think Ari has ADHD. I do, so I just kind of go on the road with you. Wherever it goes, I go with you.
So, all right, we're now about 20 minutes into this. I'm trying to think of where I want to go with this. Usually I have notes in front of me. I'm winging this one.
I like winging it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm probably going to be doing for tonight's talent show. I tried writing something. I haven't come up with anything. So I have a couple ideas in mind of what I'm going to do. Nevertheless, it's going to be some improvisation because that's
what you're good at doing.
Yeah,
I could never do what you do. Never.
So it's, you know, we all have our strengths and we all have our challenges, and it's how do we get a little bit better at the things that we're not good at, but how do we really focus and really truly excel at our strengths?
Right.
Do you have a quote that you kind of use to live by, a mantra, something that, you know, you tell yourself or maybe your clients that you find to be helpful?
Yeah, let's see if I can remember. Yeah. My favorite motto, I don't know where it came from. I heard it from some friend of mine on Facebook, I think. And if I can remember correctly, it goes something like, don't do it because you have to. Do it because you can.
I love that because I was expecting you to say want to. Because you can.
And that gets me through a lot of things, you know, because procrastination, as you know, is huge. It's a huge problem for us. And who likes to put dishes away? Who likes, you know, making their bed? Who likes packing lunches? Who likes preparing for conferences, you know? But when I remember that motto, it reminds me, God, am I lucky? Yeah. I'm lucky I can get on a plane and come to a conference and see my friends and meet new people and teach skills and share my information and resources with people who are hungry for it. Or I can get up on this talent show stage even though I'm petrified. Absolutely petrified, and I'm going to challenge myself to do it. But thank goodness I can I play a little bit of guitar and I do a little bit of singing. Or, you know, if you use that motto, it can get you through a whole lot of things. So that's my favorite one. That's great.
That's great. Is there anything else that we should know about you, including where people can reach you, anything you have going on? I know you said you have the book that's coming out. How can people reach you?
The best way to reach me, well, I have 2 websites that are more specific to women with ADHD. One is ADDConsults.com, and the other one is queensofdistraction.com, which is an online group coaching program. We're having a blast, by the way. And some of my, I call them my queens, are here at the conference, so we're going to hook up if I can find them. So that's an online group coaching. But at ADD Consults, there are things there for men also with ADHD. And you can consult with me if you want to, start a roadmap of why this is going on and I don't know where to go with it. So it's not therapy per se, but it's getting people started and getting them going on the right track. Or if you want to email me, that's fine too. It's at Terry, so it's spelled Terry at ADDConsults with an S at the end, .com.
Thank you so much. And if you have an email list?
I do. You can sign up. If you go to addconsults.com, you can sign up for my newsletter. It only comes out twice a month, and I usually inject a lot of humor.
That's more than me. It would be nice if I sent it out more, but that's what I do.
Do it.
I know. And the reason I actually brought that up is I think it was last year during the holiday season, you sent a great newsletter out. It was like last minute gifts you can still get. Oh. It was fantastic. I actually sent it to a number of my clients.
Oh, thank
you.
So
keep doing that one.
Thank you. I'll do that.
So, Terry, thank you so much. I can't wait to see you in the talent show. And this is just the beginning. Right now we're in like the pre-conference institute, and we've kind of crashed some conference room that we're not even sure if we're supposed to be in. But thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me, and I look forward to hearing myself on your show.
I will let you know when it comes out.
Thanks, Eric.
All right, thanks. ADHD reWired listeners, thank you for making last week's pre-launch of the ADHD reWired online coaching and accountability group a tremendous success. And congratulations to the 6 of you who went to ADHDrewired.com and secured your spot. If you are a new listener and you're not sure what I'm talking about, first, thank you for listening and welcome to the community. The ADHD reWired online coaching and accountability group is a 12-week online program where I will provide you with daily productivity coaching with the added power of group accountability designed to help you get more done. Do you start the day with a task list and lots of good intentions, only to finish the day exhausted and frustrated because you didn't complete what you wanted to? Do you have a specific goal or projects that you want to start or want to finish, but you're not making the progress that you want? Every day, I coach people just like you to not only create their plans, but actually follow through on them. I know the challenges that come with being an adult with ADHD. Getting started, staying focused, prioritizing, organizing, remembering things, keeping track of time, tasks, appointments, pushing through mundane, boring tasks. The list goes on. I have spent years studying ADHD and executive functioning as a clinician, but what excites me is taking that research and applying it to my life and to the lives of my clients. Knowing what to do is one thing, but doing it is another. Did you know that top executives and entrepreneurs often have mentors and accountability partners to help them take their lives to the next level? So imagine having a coach who you know, like, and trust. Yes, that would be me, and 12 members of your tribe, including myself, all supporting each other through encouragement and accountability for goals pertaining to things like exercise, weight loss, healthy eating, sleep, grades, chores, writing the first page of that book, starting a business, saving money, taking over the world. Okay, maybe not taking over the world, but we will help you take control of your life and the things that matter most to you. Go to ADHDrewired.com and click the pick that says Group Coaching Registration. Check show notes for a direct link and for a video that will cover this group in detail. As of Friday, August 14th, 2014, we are 83% sold out. Only 4 seats remain, with convenient 2, 3, and 4-month installment plans available, starting at just $199 a month. Investing in yourself has never been easier or more affordable. This group will sell out. Go to ADHDrewired.com and click the pick to register. That's ADHDrewired.com. And prepare to get your ADHD rewired. Well, ADHD rewired listeners, I'm going to keep this outro short and sweet. Thank you for listening to another episode of ADHD Rewired. You know how you could support the podcast by leaving a review and a 5-star rating on iTunes or Stitcher. Still to come, we have 2 interviews left from the ADDA Conference. We have Alan Brown of ADD Crushers and Kirsten Milliken from PlayDHD. Which one will it be next week? You'll just have to tune in and find out. So I asked Terry, since you're the queen, can you tell me 3 words that may or may not describe your palace? And she said,
Fancy, fancy, fancy.
Until next time.